Hello YouTube, my name is Mayo. Welcome to my channel and thank you for being here. I'm going to be discussing this once in a lifetime transit that is going to occur on the 31st of July 2022. This transit happened the last time about 2300 years ago. Yes, it's that unique. And specifically the transit of Mars, Uranus, conjunct the North Node. So that particular one was 2300 years ago. However, the last time it happened recently was in the sign of Pisces on the 31st of March of 2007. It was around 16 degrees of Pisces. And prior to that was in 1991 at around 11 degrees of Capricorn. I suggest that you listen to this whole video because along the way I will give examples. I'm going to be sharing a personal example of how this conjunction changed my life 15 years ago. So if you really want to know how this is going to change your life, I encourage you to just watch the whole video. This particular conjunction was with Neptune. The one in 2007 was conjunct Mercury, and we saw how that brought the whole technological revolution, industrial technology revolution. That was when Facebook, YouTube, and all the other social media platforms were really coming into our existence, into our lives, our personal lives. Online shopping became a real thing around then also. So we've noticed that people who jumped on that trend when it was very new and perhaps too advanced for some of us, these are the people who are now very, very wealthy. And people started learning more about astrology. At that time, a few astrologers started using YouTube and Facebook to promote their businesses. So let's come back to the conjunction that is happening this month. This conjunction is happening at 18 degrees of Taurus. So if you have any points, planets between 3 degrees before, I would say 15 degrees of Taurus until about 22 degrees of Taurus, you're going to be highly impacted by this transit. Likewise, if you have anything in the fixed signs, Aquarius, Leo, and Scorpio, you're going to be highly affected by this transit. So look to see in your natal chart if you have anything at that degree, because those points, planets, or angles are going to be highly activated during this transit. This time the conjunction is happening in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign and Uranus is in detriment in the sign of Taurus because Uranus does not like to be in an earth sign, because Uranus does not like to be in a sign where he cannot really affect change. Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus likes things to stay the same. All fixed signs like things to stay the same. This is why we might find this transit somewhat challenging, because it's bringing a shake-up to things we're accustomed to, things we want, the things that we value, and we want them to stay the same. What does the sign of Taurus rule over? Taurus is a natural second house of the zodiac, and the second house rules over our earning ability. So therefore, that's our money, how we make our money. It also rules over our food, what we put in our mouth and what we say, anything that goes in and out of the mouth. It also rules over the family that we make with another person. And this is the family that we make by choice, not the family that we're forced into, to be born into. We make this family with a lover, a partner, or perhaps even the friends that we've had for a long time in our lives, and we tend to look at them as family. So Uranus entered the sign of Taurus in 2018, and he's been bringing shakeups to our foundation of the things that we love and value, how we make our money. All this is here. All this is going to change whether we like it or not. And as you can see already, there have been a lot of changes in how we work, where we work, when we work, and for how much we work for. So the changes here are not done. They're going to be, we're still going to experience these changes until about 2025, when Uranus leaves Taurus. Let's look at what Uranus rules in the zodiac. Uranus rules the 11th house of the zodiac, and that is the sign of Aquarius. The 11th house is concerned with society at large, big groups of people, the groups that we belong to, the groups that we belong to, social media, technology, advanced ways of doing things or behaving. The 11th house is the reward of the 10th house. So all the work that we did in the 10th house is going to be rewarded in the 11th house. So our wishes, our hopes, dreams are all a concern of the 11th house. And what is Uranus doing in the sign of Taurus? It wants to disrupt all those things about our society, the foundations of the groups that we belong to, and how we see and relate with one another. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, so it rules over things like computers, large computers. It rules over advanced new technologies. I would say it also rules over things like jets, planes. Uranus also rules over electricity, thunder, lightning. Things that happen or change at lightning speed. Things that we've never even thought of or dreamt of. All these things are ruled by Uranus. So the changes that we're going to experience at this conjunction are probably things we've never even imagined. Probably even things that we've never imagined before. They're going to happen, and they're going to happen at lightning speed. Okay, so let's examine what Mars rules in the zodiac. Mars rules the first house of the natural zodiac, and it rules over the sign of Aries. Mars rules over guns, weapon, war, and big machinery. It also rules over surgeries, the police, and the army. Mars is our vital force. It's vital energy. It activates whatever house or planet that it conjuncts or touches anywhere in the zodiac. Another thing we have to consider is that Mars is the ruler of the current South Node in Scorpio. So the ruler of the South Node is currently transiting the North Node, where this conjunction is happening. So what happens at the South Node? The South Node is where we let go. This is where we release and eliminate, especially in the sign of Scorpio. Since Mars is a part of this conjunction and the ruler of the South Node, Mars is here at this conjunction, lighting fire to this conjunction. And with the presence of Uranus and the North Node, your life is going to change. The world is going to change. The world might literally shake. There could be earthquakes. Something is definitely going to light up, and go boom. And we're probably going to hear about this in the news. One problem with this conjunction is that Mars and Uranus conjunction is the accident conjunction. Whenever these two planets meet, their energy is too intense. Mars wants to activate, Mars wants to take action without thought, and Uranus just wants to do something totally unpredictable and unexpected. So please pay attention. If you have this conjunction in a square or opposition aspect, or in any type of challenging aspect, please be aware of your surroundings. Don't drink and drive, don't text and drive. Just be very careful and be very aware of your surroundings. As a matter of fact, since this is really affecting everyone, we all have to pay attention to whatever we're doing on the days approaching this conjunction and a little bit after, this conjunction. This is the conjunction in astrology that indicates accidents, and this warning is pretty much for everybody. So I'm sure you're wondering how this transit is going to affect you. You're wondering if you're going to see an event happen on the exact day of the conjunction, or you're probably wondering, am I not going to know what this is about until 15 years later? No. If you have points or angles that are being activated at 18 degrees of Taurus, or in any of the other fixed signs which I've already named, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo, you are going to feel this transit almost immediately. An event is going to occur. It's either going to be an actual physical event, or it's going to be a subconscious type of event. The energy of Mars bringing action, and the energy of Uranus and the North Node all aligning at one point is definitely going to create an event. You might not know what the full effect of that event is going to be, because it's going to play out really over the next 15 years, but you are going to have an inkling, you are going to have an idea which direction your life might go at or around the time of this conjunction. So I'm going to share with you how the prior conjunction changed my whole world. This conjunction happened in the sign of Pisces, and it was exact on the 31st of March 2007. Before the conjunction, I was in a long-term relationship for about 6 years. I was really into this guy and he was really into me, but marriage was not happening. This relationship was part of my Saturn return. I have my natal Saturn in the 7th house. There was really nothing wrong with the relationship, but it just was not going anywhere, and it was not fulfilling what I really wanted in my life. So I just decided to break that relationship off. And this happened actually 3 months before this conjunction. Something inside me just told me that this is never going to go anywhere. You're getting older, this is never going to get anywhere. It's time to move on. So you probably already know which area is being affected in your life at this particular conjunction. So 6 years in a relationship with no result, that is me feeling like I've wasted time, I'm stuck, this is a stagnant relationship, it's not going anywhere. So Uranus came in and liberated me. Sometimes people think astrology is not real, it doesn't really work, nothing ever happens. When I look at my own life and try and see it through the lens of astrology, through progressions, solar return charts, and major transits, they always explain any major event that happened in my life. So back to what happened when this conjunction became exact. On the 31st of May 2007, the day of the exact conjunction, I met my soulmate, who 2 months later became my husband. Yes, in absolute Uranian style, we did get married 2 months after meeting. And when I met him, I looked at his eyes and I just couldn't believe, this man is really into me. This man really wants to date me. I had so much doubt and a bit of insecurity because I invested 6 years in my past relationship and it didn't work. So I was really fragile and insecure. But there was something so special and different about this man that inside my soul, I deeply felt that he was the one, and he felt the same way too. So in a sense, Uranus had liberated me from a stagnant relationship, from a stagnant situation, a stagnant relationship. This transit brought me somebody who was ready to go right away for exactly what I needed at that point in my life. So to be a bit more specific, this conjunction happened in my 5th house. I am Scorpio rising, so my 5th house is Pisces. The conjunction was at 16 degrees Pisces. The conjunction in 2007 was with Mercury, Uranus, and the North Node. And this was all squaring my natal Saturn in the 7th house. So the result of this conjunction was in my 7th house. It brought me a marriage partner. I normally use the Placidus system when I'm reading for personal planets, and the whole sign system when I'm reading for outer planets, points, and angles. So if you want to evaluate how this conjunction is going to work in your own natal chart, use the whole sign system, because this conjunction actually happened in my 4th house part of my chart. But when I really evaluated the whole transit and that it was aspecting my natal 7th house Saturn, I realized that you have to use whole sign system for this to work. The 5th house rules over karma, good luck karma that you earned in a past life. I guess this is why this man felt like somebody I knew from a past life, it almost felt like we had agreed to meet in this lifetime at a certain time and a certain place, and we were going to jump and do exactly what it is that we agreed to in this lifetime. Essentially, this is why this really felt very familiar and soulmate type of relationship, because it's probably a relationship that I had earned. It's probably a relationship that I earned in a past lifetime. This transit absolutely changed my life. I was a single woman thinking I was never ever going to be married, at least not at the appropriate age. And in less than 2 months after this conjunction, I was a married woman, happily married woman to my soulmate. If you'd asked me 3 months before, perhaps even 6 months before this conjunction, what I thought about marriage and if it was ever going to be something that was going to happen for me, I would have probably told you I don't think so, because I'd already wasted 6 years. But at the time of this conjunction, the exact day of this conjunction, my whole life changed and I was liberated. I used to wake up every morning and I couldn't believe that I was actually married. I'd look at my ring and almost slap myself and look at my husband and think, how did this happen? How did this happen so fast, so quickly, overnight? And I am here. I was miserable and unhappy for a very long time, and here I am now, feeling the happiest I'd ever felt in my life at that time. So have hope. This can happen for you this can happen for you as well in any area that you felt stagnation, you felt life was unfair, you felt like you have been cheated, or even perhaps spelled for some of you that believe in that. Mars is going to cut that, and Mars is here to cut that spell, break it. Uranus is here to liberate you. The North Node is here bringing your fated destiny, bringing you into the future. You're going to jump into your future at this time. Just be willing and ready to accept whatever it is that comes your way. So if you have to use my example to find out what could happen in your own chart, you have to see what you have again at 18 degrees of Taurus. And if you have something there and in the other signs that I mentioned, it's really going to impact you. If you have a sign or a point in the other angles, either it's by square or opposition, those points are going to be activated and they will create an event right away on the days near the days of this conjunction. So don't think you're going to be wondering what this conjunction is bringing for you. And if you'd like to find out exactly how this conjunction is going to work in your own natal birth chart, I suggest that you get a reading with me. Book a reading at rachel-mayo.com. I'm going to leave a link below this video for the reading. I'm offering a $60 reading, so just concentrating on this specific conjunction, this transit. In that reading, I'll be able to tell you exactly which planets are impacted and exactly what it is, or which area that you should expect to see changes. This transit really does change your life. It will liberate you. This is a once-in-a-lifetime transit that will change the world and specifically change your life. This transit is going to change the world. It's going to change the way we relate with each other. It's going to change our money. It's going to change our food. Maybe not for the better, but it is going to change those things. The whole purpose of this transit with the planets that are involved is to liberate you. This transit is going to liberate you where you have felt stuck, where you felt nothing is working, nothing has changed, you're never going to, you're feeling like a failure, you're feeling like you're never going to see any changes or any improvement, or you're feeling like you're never going to achieve your hopes, dreams, and wishes. Remember, Uranus does rule the 11th house, and remember what I said about the 11th house. It is the reward of the work that we did in the 10th house. Since the North Node is a karmic point, it brings what is fated, what is agreed upon, perhaps in a past life. And Uranus is here to liberate you. And then Mars is just there to push you to take action. However, Mars' function in this conjunction is here to help you release what no longer is serving you, what is dead in your life, the things that you've been holding on to that are no longer pushing you forward toward your future. They're just holding you back. So Mars is going to cut those things out of your life, and it's going to happen almost immediately, and it could happen and unfortunately for some it could happen violently. So just be prepared and do not be afraid. Whatever is being removed in your life, whatever is being eliminated, cut out of your life, is something that was not really pushing you towards your future, your fated future. So just accept it and let these planets take over. You really cannot compel these planets to do anything. They are going to do what they came to do. So for some people, other people could look at it as, in which areas do you feel like you were spelled or bewitched? Or perhaps you feel like somebody or something has been energetically blocking you and preventing you from moving forward. Mars is here to cut those curses. Uranus is here to liberate you, and the North Node is going to push you towards your destined future. So have no fear. What's going to happen is going to happen, and it's only happening for your highest good. You may not feel so at the time when things are happening. You may be very confused and afraid, and perhaps even suffer from panic attacks and anxiety, but trust in the energy, trust in the planets. It's going to lead you to where you're supposed to be. It's going to liberate you. So if you would like to find out how this life-changing transit is going to affect you according to your own natal birth chart, I am offering a special reading, and it's only $60. I will leave the link for the reading below this video. In this reading, I'll be able to look at your chart and tell you exactly how this conjunction is aspecting your natal birth chart, what could possibly happen, what could possibly change and happen in your life, in your Taurus house. So if you'd really like to know how this is going to work out for you, click the link below and book a reading with me. Thank you. This conjunction involves 3 bodies. The North Node is a part of this conjunction. The North Node has been transiting in the sign of Taurus since January 2022. The North Node is not a planet, it's a karmic point that leads us into the future, our fated future. So when we put Mars, Uranus, and the North Node together, we should expect the unexpected. Never accurately predict how Uranus is going to behave in any given conjunction or transit. If you like the content of this video, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Also share my video with your friends and family or on your social media. You just never know who you're going to help. You just never know who needs to hear this information. You'll be helping them, and you'll be helping me grow my channel. I would also like to know how this transit is impacting your own natal birth chart. So please leave me a comment. Let me know how you think this transit is going to impact your life. Sharing your story, or perhaps what happened 15 years ago, you'll be helping other people who are also listening to this to try and figure out how this transit is going to impact their own life. So please share in the comment section below. Thank you. Let's take a quick look at the chart of this conjunction. It's happening on the 31st of July at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I live in New York, so this chart is specifically for New York. Find out what time this conjunction is happening in your own location. So therefore, that means that you should ignore this ascendant for my location. Just look at the transits in this chart, because the planets are still in the same location, so therefore the aspects are going to be the same. It's just the ascendant which is going to be different. This conjunction is happening in the sign of Taurus at 18 degrees of Taurus. And what we have at 18 degrees, we have Mars, Uranus, and the North Node. Mars is one of the rulers of the South Node, so he's really bringing a message of cutting, letting go, and releasing what is no longer serving you for your highest good or pushing you towards your future. So we may have to painfully, perhaps for some, let go of certain things at this conjunction. This whole conjunction is in sextile to Venus, who's currently transiting the sign of Cancer. A sextile is a very harmonious and supportive aspect. Venus is the ruler of this conjunction in the sign of Taurus. So Venus is casting a harmonious aspect to her own sign. This aspect is going to help us to confidently go after what is being brought about by this conjunction, what the North Node is bringing for our future, our highest good. The other ruler of the South Node, Pluto, is also aspecting this conjunction by a wide trine. Pluto is currently going retrograde by a wide trine, which is also very supportive and is going to make releasing whatever needs to go a lot easier. Pluto transforms whatever it touches, but in this particular chart, it's going to be very supportive of whatever transformations that we need to go through at this conjunction. Jupiter is really not a part of this conjunction. You can't ignore that Jupiter has a very harmonious trine aspect to the Sun in Leo, and this aspect is just going to bring some type of joy and happiness at this time, either to do with your creativity or with your children, or in the areas that these signs rule in your own natal birth chart. The moon in the sign of Virgo is also aspecting this conjunction in a trine aspect. This is an aspect that is going to also bring some encouragement. This is an aspect that's going to bring some solid encouragement and some type of healing to this conjunction and emotional support. Neptune is also aspecting the ruler of this conjunction, Venus, who's currently transiting the sign of Cancer. So there is another supportive aspect that is pushing us in a harmonious way, in a harmonious and faithful way towards our destined future. Let's go over the negative aspects of this conjunction. The big one is the Saturn-Uranus conjunction that we experienced the whole of 2021. It's not exact at this conjunction, but at some point later in the year, it is going to become exact. Saturn is bringing some type of restriction. Saturn is bringing some type of restriction and rules to this conjunction. So we might feel this conjunction as a negative aspect. At the same time, this conjunction is in square to the planet Mercury. Whenever Uranus and Mercury square, we usually get some type of unexpected news, perhaps even a very upsetting type of news. And especially since it's also opposing Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, there is an opposition between Mercury and Saturn. And this opposition is squaring the conjunction. So that is a T-square. It is a challenging aspect. So we are going to get some upsetting news and perhaps some rules and regulations, or perhaps some of the news is going to be restricted or blocked in some way. We're not going to get the clear picture, the full picture, because we also see that there is a quincunx between Neptune and Uranus. So this adds to the illusions and perhaps delusions or deceptions that may be going on in the background concerning whatever it is that's going to happen at this time. Another difficult aspect that I see is the square between Chiron and Venus. Usually this is an aspect that tends to break up romantic relationships. So possibly there could be disagreements and arguments in personal relationships, and there could be some breakups in marriages and romantic relationships. So this is one to look out for. It's a square aspect. It's not a positive aspect. It's not a healing aspect. It's a breakup aspect. So this is something that's going to happen for some of you. Just be prepared for that. And if it is a breakup, considering all the other aspects in this chart, this is a breakup that was meant to happen. This is a breakup that is going to release you and push you forward to something a lot better, in the near future. As I said earlier, Mars is an activator. It activates whatever it touches or activates the house that it's transiting. Mars entered the sign of Taurus, I believe, around the 6th of July. Let's look back at what Mars could possibly be activating during his transit in the sign of Taurus. There was an eclipse at around 10 degrees of Taurus. I believe it was a solar eclipse on the 28th of April. So once Mars touches 10 degrees, it's going to reactivate that eclipse. If you didn't have an event occur at the time, at around the time of that eclipse, you're definitely going to have an event occur when Mars reaches that eclipse point and opposes the eclipse that we had and activates the solar eclipse point. The other activation we're going to see is from the planet. The other activation we're going to have later on in August is from Uranus. Uranus is going to conjunct the full moon that's going to happen at around 19 degrees of Aquarius. That full moon is going to activate by square aspect this conjunction. So if you don't have an event, so if nothing happens at the time of this conjunction, something is definitely going to happen at the full moon in the sign of Aquarius at 19 degrees. Saturn will be transiting retrograde at 22 degrees. So this still applies as an activation of this conjunction. And if nothing happens in August, look forward to the lunar eclipse that is happening, I believe, on the 8th or 7th of November 2022. It's happening at around 16 or 15 degrees of Taurus. So this lunar eclipse is going to again reactivate this conjunction. So if nothing happens in August or in July, something is definitely going to happen at around the time of that lunar eclipse. So as you can see, this is a transit that really can shake things up in your life and pull you out of stagnation and push you forward into the future. It's almost like a time leap. Things are going to happen very dramatically and very, very fast. Probably even faster since Mars is actually involved in this conjunction. Mars brings action and activation to whatever it touches. I really think I really think most of us will find out almost right away what this transit is going to bring into our lives, or at least the area that is going to be shaken up and transformed. And Aries ascendant, sun or moon. This conjunction is happening in your second house. This is where there'll be the dramatic, unexpected, radical changes in your life. As I said earlier, the second house rules over what we love and value, our earning ability, our self-esteem. So if you didn't listen to the beginning of this video, I suggest that you go back, because a lot of this applies to you, because Taurus is your second house. Your ruling planet Mars is a big part of this conjunction. So essentially that means that you will be bringing a lot of power and energy to this conjunction. You will have a say in what needs to go, what needs to be eliminated, and what needs to be left in the past, because because your planet is ruling the south node. So whatever is being presented to you at this time, trust it and use your power to let go. Mars in the second house tends to bring in a lot of money opportunities. So you probably make a lot of money, but Mars also tends to make you spend a lot of money. So you're probably going to experience an increase in money. So you're probably going to experience an increase in your income, but there will also be a lot of but you will also have a lot of expenditures. Some of you may be presented with a very advanced or perhaps even high technological way of making money, earning a living. This is the time for you to jump on this horse, because this might be actually what you need. This is probably the thing that will open doors to more business or to more business or more ways of making money. When Uranus is transiting the second house, it wants you to make money doing things which are highly that involve high technology, things that are advanced and futuristic, and they may be a bit intimidating in the beginning, but if you have to use this energy, you have to be open to something that is totally different than what you're used to. The second house rules over the mouth, what goes in and out. And when Mars is transiting the second house, it tends to make you very feisty and aggressive and perhaps even rude. So please be watchful and mindful what you say to other people at this time, because they may act in a very Uranian and unpredictable way and lash out against you. And of course, that's not something that I would encourage you to welcome in your life. Taurus, ascendant, sun or moon. This conjunction is happening in your first house. It's happening on your ascendant. This is an angle. When we have an event, a transit conjunct our ascendant, it activates all the other angles. So essentially that means it activates your descendant, and your descendant is the angle of the other, the angle of relationships, committed relationships, business partnerships. The seventh house is also the angle of business, so it also activates transactions with others. It also activates your MC, and that is your standing in society. So whatever changes that you make on your ascendant, your person, is probably going to affect how others see you in society, and also affect the opposing angle, the IC, how your family reacts or accepts whatever changes you make towards your person, or how you're seen by others. So having all this energy in your first house is very high energy, it's very combustible. Your ruling planet Venus is supporting this conjunction in a harmonious sextile. A sextile is an aspect that asks us to take action. It's energy that is there for you to change it into something else. So you are essentially going to have to take action, have some kind of say about the things that are happening at this time. The ruler of the South Node, Mars, is transiting your sign at this time. So you are essentially going to have to do some letting go in the relationship area. Mars rules the descendant. Mars rules your descendant in the sign of Scorpio. So if you've had relationships that have not been working out, relationships that are dead and you've just been holding on to, and they're not really advancing you towards your future, it's time to cut them out cold at this time. Uranus rules your MC. So Uranus is involved in this transit and is squaring you at this time. So this is an uncomfortable and challenging aspect that's going to push you into taking action when it comes to your standing in society. Taurus, your whole entire life could change. If this is aspecting your sun at 18 degrees, it's going to aspect your standing in society, your life force, and your creative ability, and how you're seen in society. If it is your moon at 18 degrees of Taurus, this is going to affect you very deeply and personally, because the moon rules the natural fourth house of the zodiac. So it could have something to do with your deep resentments, your feelings, your home. And it could also bring up anxieties. You could literally have a panic attack around the time of this conjunction. And trust me, you're listening to somebody who has their moon in Taurus at 17 degrees. So that means that Uranus already conjuncted my moon. And as you can see, I'm in a totally brand new environment. I absolutely love it. I listened to whatever Uranus was telling me to do. And so when this transit was exact on my moon at around a month ago, I left all my furniture, half of my belongings, and decided to move. It just changed my entire living situation. I didn't panic. I listened to the transit. I looked at my chart. I know that my moon is exalted in Taurus, and it's the most well aspected planet in my natal birth chart. So I knew that whatever it was would make me feel a bit anxious. Whatever the change was going to be would make me feel anxious in the beginning, but ultimately it would work out. I had to trust that it would work out. My moon has absolutely no negative aspects to it, and it is the ruler of my south node in other people's money in the 8th house. So definitely there was a story that was linked to other people's money, and it happened really dramatically and unexpectedly. So if you have your moon at this degree, you are going to be highly affected, and it's going to make you very emotional and anxious in the beginning because of course, and perhaps even angry, because when Mars conjuncts the moon, that could be an anger aspect. So you are one of the signs that actually has to be very careful with your surroundings, because anything can happen, and it could start out perhaps in a negative way and ultimately turn out positive. So be aware of where you are, and don't let anxiety take over. So you really have to be careful and watch out how you decide to use this energy. You might be pushed to your limits. So I personally still have to watch out for this transit, because when the conjunction happens, it's going to happen. All these planets are going to be conjunct my moon. So if you want to know how this eventually opens up for me, comment in the comment section below. Tell me how it's aspecting your chart and what you think is going to happen. Keep me posted. I would like to know how other Taurus moons and signs are being aspected by this conjunction. This is a life-changing aspect. Do not be fooled. You are going to change. You're not going to be the same person you are now, even 5 years from now. This transit is happening in your chart. I highly suggest that you book a reading with me so that we can go over what is really going on, what else is being aspected in your own natal birth charts. Thank you, Taurus, and good luck. Gemini, Ascendant, Sun, or Moon. This conjunction is happening in your 12th house. This is where there will be dramatic and unexpected, rather radical changes in your life. The 12th house is a hidden house, and it rules over things that are unseen, things which we know they're there, and we just have to believe that they're there. They're in a dark place. They're behind us. Who is usually behind us and stabbing us in the back? It's our hidden enemies. It is also our own self-sabotaging habits. So if you have any self-sabotaging habits like alcoholism, sexual addictions, your problems with addiction to drugs, or other types of self-sabotaging behaviors, they're going to be really highlighted at this time. They're going to be brought in your face. You're going to be forced to deal with them. The other hidden places in the 12th house are places like hospitals, prisons, jails, anything that is away from society. So if you've been in jail if you've been in jail, in prison for many years, and you thought you would never get out, perhaps you were wrongfully convicted, or rightfully so, this is the time that you will probably be released from this prison or jail. And sometimes it's our own and sometimes we do imprison ourselves in our own mind and psyche. Perhaps you're going to have some type of mental breakthrough at this time. So you are going to be liberated in any way, or in the areas that you felt trapped. In the areas that you felt trapped and alone and suffering alone behind the scenes, you will be released from this at this time. The 12th house also rules over generational karma. So if you felt that if you felt, and generational karma is karma that is handed down to us by our ancestors, simply because we were born to a certain family or a certain last name. So this is something that you didn't really create. It's just part of your generational karma. Mars could come in right now and cut the ties to that negative karma and free you. And Uranus will free you and liberate you from that bondage to whatever it is that was holding you back, and whatever suffering you had personally in the background all by yourself. Your ruling planet Mercury is aspecting this conjunction in a negative, challenging aspect. So Gemini, you may be pushed into taking some type of action. You may experience some type of challenges because Mercury is actually squaring this whole transit. So if you'd really like to know how this is going to affect you personally, I suggest you book a reading with me. Mars is a lot of energy, and when Mars is in the 12th house, it could make you very it could make you very sleepless. And in the 12th house is the place where we want to rest, and the 12th house is a place where we want to rest and recuperate, and Mars there is just too much energy. So you could have really violent dreams, and sometimes even prophetic dreams, because Uranus in the 12th house will give you flashes of insight and messages from the other side. So this is a transit, if you're one of those people who wants to be a medium, a psychic, or you want to study astrology, become an astrologer, this is an excellent transit for you to do so, because you have an opening line of communication with the other side. So just don't look at all the don't only look at the negative. Don't look at the negative aspects of this type of transit in the 12th house. You can use this energy in very positive ways and liberate yourself. So for those who are for those who've wanted to travel to a foreign country, migrate to a foreign country, this is definitely the transit that could make it happen, and make it happen instantly. But at the same time, you have to watch out for violence or your hidden enemies attacking you if you're in a foreign country, because remember, Mars is there, it's hidden energy, and that could be the energy of your hidden enemies, and they could certainly act in a very unpredictable and in an unexpected way. You cannot predict Uranus, and once you pair it with Mars, that's not a very and once you pair it with Mars in an area where we're blind, you just have to trust your instincts and your intuition to guide you at this time. Be safe, Gemini. This conjunction is happening in your 11th house. This is where there will be dramatic, unexpected and radical changes in your life. The 11th house is a happy house. This is the house which is ruled by Uranus in the natural zodiac. So there is already a Uranian component here. And the 11th house also rules over our hopes, dreams, and wishes. The 11th house will reward us for all the work that we did in the 10th house. This is where you're going to receive your promotions, your accolades. Essentially, your dreams could come true, and this could happen in a rather dramatic and radical fashion. Some of you could have a financial windfall, a huge promotion, or perhaps you meet a benefactor. This is the house of benefactors. You could meet a benefactor that could bring something really positive in your life and set this area up for the next 15 years. If you've been wanting to join a social media platform, a certain group or club, you could be accepted unexpectedly at this time, and you could also actually find that you're very successful and very well liked in that club or organization, because Venus, the ruler of this conjunction, the ruler of the North Node, is currently transiting in your sign. It's already making you become very likable, and attractive. You're hosting the ruler of the North Node, Venus, who is ruling this conjunction. So only good things can happen. I think this transit is going to be very positive for most Cancerians, because your ruling planet, the moon, is aspecting this transit in a sextile aspect. Your ruling planet, the moon, the luminary, is aspecting this whole conjunction in a very positive and supportive aspect. So whatever events happen, they're going to happen in a very supportive manner. So make sure you're out there meeting people, socializing. Venus is in a sextile aspect. With a sextile aspect, we have to be proactive. So please just don't sit at home and please don't sit at home and expect it. Please just don't sit at home and expect things to just come to you. Well, actually they can, because if you're active on the internet is also ruled by the 11th house, on social media, on dating apps, or just having a presence or just having some type of presence on social media. So if you've wanted to start a YouTube channel, this is an excellent transit for you to do so, and do it confidently, because Mars is also aspecting your ruling planet in a very harmonious aspect. Leo ascendant, sun or moon. This conjunction is happening in your 10th house. This is the area where you should expect dramatic change and perhaps unpredictable, unexpected changes in your life. The 10th house is an angle house. When an angle house is activated, your whole chart is activated, because all 4 points are now activated. Your MC, the 10th house, is where you're really going to see a big result, because this is where the conjunction is. But your 10th house is also aspecting your ascendant. That is you. That's another angle. So you are also going to be activated. And your IC, your home area, and it's also going to be activated by opposition, because the 10th house is where this is happening. Whatever changes happen with the other angles, they're also going to affect your 7th house, your descendant, your relationships, your committed relationships and partnerships, business agreements, and business itself. Leo squares Taurus. So this is a challenging aspect. It's a negative aspect. This means that you are going to be pushed into action. You are going to take action at this time. Your ruling planet, the sun, the luminary, is not a big part of this conjunction. It's not aspecting it. However, it is aspecting Jupiter in a trine aspect, which is a very, very positive and supportive aspect. So whatever happens at this conjunction, you may have some difficult things to deal with, some difficult things to let go of, but at the same time, you will experience some type of inner joy doing whatever it needs to be done at this time. So perhaps you've been working for a company for several years and you've felt underappreciated, you have not been promoted. This is the time that you may just decide to call it quits. You may decide to leave your job. And for some of you, you may go and start your own business. Probably a business in something that you've actually never done before, but you're going to pursue this and pursue it very confident. You're going to pursue this new idea and pursue it very confidently. Some of you may experience a change in status. Perhaps you're going to change your name due to the fact that you are married or divorced, or perhaps for some you've become a widow and you decide to change your name. So all these things are all possibilities. The 10th house is how we're seen by society. So these changes are going to be something that people are going to know about. It's not a private spot. This is a very public area. Whatever changes or whatever happens here could happen in a rather very public way. Things have been very challenging and uncomfortable for Leo ascendant, sun or moon, simply because you've had the opposition from your partnership area with transiting Uranus, who is also very active at the time of this conjunction. So there's a lot going on in your partnerships. And then you have Scorpio as your IC, your 4th house. There has been a lot of letting go and eliminating eliminating in your 4th house. Some of you may probably have had to move once. Some of you may probably have had to move once or twice already. At this conjunction, you may have to make some more decisions that concern your home life, perhaps because of something that happens in your 10th house, your work area, or your standing in society. This is a challenging type of transit, but it is essentially pushing you towards your highest good, towards your fated future. And if you're confused and you need some support, you don't know how to deal with this energy, and you'd like me to take a look at your chart, the link to the $60 reading is below this video. I highly suggest you book a reading with me so we could navigate this together. Virgo, ascendant, sun or moon. This conjunction is happening in your 9th house. The 9th house is where you're going to expect some dramatic changes, perhaps unexpected and radical changes in your life. The 9th house rules over the justice system, the legal system. So perhaps some of you will have a name change at this time. The 9th house is where we legalize things and make things official. Some of you may travel to a different country at this time. Some of you may decide to travel and settle in a foreign country at this time, because the 9th house does rule over foreign lands, religion, universities, our higher belief system. So you could expect some dramatic changes in any of those things. So if you've been waiting to get your citizenship, a green card, or some other type of legal paperwork that involves foreign lands, or perhaps the legal or perhaps the justice system, this is the time that you're going to see major changes in this area. Essentially, there will be a lot of travel for some of you Virgos. Some of you may decide to join some type of radical religious group, or perhaps even begin a cult, because yes, the 9th house does rule over things like that. Higher belief system is usually something that is passed down to us. It's not our own belief system, it's an inherited belief system. So if you're a type of person who is highly suggestible and prone to those things, just watch out which kind of groups you belong. Just watch out which kind of groups or information that is essentially being passed down to you, that you start believing, that will make you start believing in things which are maybe probably just a bit too out there and too futuristic. But then again, some of you could join those type of groups and be able to prosper. Hey, to each his own. So if you've been involved in a lawsuit in the last several years and you never thought it would end, this is the time that this lawsuit is going to be. This is the time that this lawsuit will end. I can't promise that it's going to end in your favor, simply because your ruling planet Mercury is in a T-square, is involved in a T-square at this conjunction. Mercury is opposing Saturn, so there will be some not so happy news that you're going to receive at this time from authority figures, and then Saturn is also squaring this conjunction, so there is some type of restriction there, because there is some type of restriction involved there. And Mercury is also squaring Uranus. And as I said in the introduction, when this aspect happens, it's usually bad news, or news that we were not expecting to hear, but we hear it at this time. So just be prepared. You might receive some type of negative news, or be pushed to take some type of negative action at this time, or perhaps you'll be the one delivering the negative news to somebody that's really important in your 9th house area. Virgo, if you need some guidance and some support during this transit, I suggest that you book a reading with me. The link is below this video. Libra, ascendant, sun or moon. This conjunction is happening in your 8th house. This is where there will be dramatic changes, perhaps some of them unpredictable and unexpected changes that could dramatically change your life. The 8th house is the house where we keep our secrets that we hide from others and sometimes even from ourselves, and it's a very psychological and transformational house. It also rules over sex, taxes, death, and of course, again, transformation and other people's money. So perhaps some of you Libras will experience some type of death in a family, and because of that death, you will be able to receive an inheritance. This house does rule over things like that, so it's likely that it can happen. It also rules over intimacy, and this house is where this is the house where we bond with another person. This is the house where we're intimate and share resources. So some of you could experience a break or a separation from an intimate partner, and because of that separation, you may lose the support, the financial support from your partner. That is, of course, if this conjunction is aspecting your natal birth chart in a negative way. For some of you, it could quite be the opposite. If you've been going through a divorce procedure, this is the time that this divorce could finally be finalized, and you receive some type of financial support from your former partner as a result of this divorce. Or some of you could get some type of settlement from an ongoing lawsuit, or anything that has been held up, something that was stuck and you thought it would never be concluded. Uranus is here to cut those ties and liberate you. I really think that Libras are one of the signs that are actually going to have to do some of the signs who are going to have some breakups in relationships, simply because Mars is the planet that rules your descendant, and Mars is very active at the time of this. Mars is very active at this conjunction, and Mars has a separating and cutting effect. So perhaps there will be some major breakups in your relationships, in your committed relationships, partnerships. Your ruling planet Venus is currently transiting Cancer. She's comfortable in that sign, and she's aspecting this whole conjunction in a very positive and supportive aspect called a sextile. So perhaps you have some say, some power. So perhaps you will be given some power. You may have some say in whatever is going to go down, the distribution of finances, or in whatever other issues are going to be, or in whatever other issues that may transpire at this time. Unfortunately, Venus is squaring your sign. Cancer and Libra square each other. So this is an uncomfortable sign, and it's coming from your ruling planet who's ruling the North Node. You may be pushed into taking action. The other reason why I think this is definitely going to have something to do with breakups in relationships, love relationships, or business partnerships, is because your ruling planet is also squaring Chiron in the sign of Aries at this conjunction. So these are all things, all these aspects have to be considered before you come to any type of conclusion or judgment about how this could affect you personally. I highly suggest that you book a reading with me. The link to the reading is right below this video. Scorpio Ascendant, Sun or Moon. This conjunction is happening in your 7th house. The 7th house is an angle house. This area rules over your committed relationships, your business partnerships, and any other type of agreements or business. This is the house of the other. So we are having transactions done here with other people, whether it's a marriage contract, a business contract, or financial exchange. When an angle is activated, it activates all the angles in your chart. So what's going to happen on your descendant, your Taurus house, is essentially going to affect you by opposition, your ascendant, and it's also going to affect your standing in society. And when standing in society is affected, your home area, your IC, is also going to be activated. So Scorpio rising is another sign that is really going to be affected dramatically by this transit. Your life is definitely going to change, especially if you have points at around 18 degrees of any of the fixed of any of the fixed signs. Your Uranus has been transiting your descendant since 2018. So you may notice that your partner has been acting in a rather radical or unpredictable way. They're just not behaving like the person that you got married to. And Mars is part of this conjunction. Mars, fortunately, rules you. So this is going to make your partner very excitable and unpredictable. They could be very aggressive in behavior towards you. So expect some unpredictable, unexpected arguments coming from your partner. If you experience any types of breakups in relationships, it's possibly going to be you deciding to do the breaking up, because you are Mars. Because Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so you have the say in what you want eliminated, so you're going to have an upper hand to say what needs to go and what needs to be cut out, what needs to be eliminated. This could be something about your own behavior, or perhaps even your body, because the first house rules over the body. But whatever it is that you do is going to ultimately affect your relationships. So if you've been involved in a bad marriage, a bad relationship, Mars is going to push you. Mars is you. You're going to decide to break free, cut this relationship out, and Uranus is going to instantly liberate you. Usually when you have Uranus transiting your 7th house and a marriage breaks, Uranus is going to have somebody like a backup already waiting. So you are possibly going to begin a new relationship right after this marriage or partnership ends. It's very, very likely. And for some of you that have been single for a long time and thought they would never ever get married or meet a serious committed partner, or perhaps if it's a business situation, you've been looking for someone to partner with in a business type of agreement, this is the time that these energies will radically and dramatically bring somebody in your life, somebody who's going to be around for the long stay, because this is happening in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus likes to hold on to things. So yes, you could surprise everybody and get married within the next few months, perhaps in less than 6 months. I got married in less than 2 months of meeting my soulmate. So it's not impossible, it's very possible, it's very likely, and you will be liberated. But you have to be open to this energy and trust the energy and let go of whatever is not working, because it's only holding you back. So if it is a relationship that you've been holding on to that has not been working, it's time for you to release this relationship, because the future is looking very different and very bright. And for those who are more concerned with the money aspect of this conjunction, you want a business partnership or you just want more business, Uranus and Mars is going to bring action in this area. So you might get some business contracts, some transactions may just start happening, and your business could dramatically change and improve over the next 15 years. But you have to be open, again, as I say, to this energy. If you're feeling confused and unsettled and you don't know what this energy could possibly bring for you in your life, could possibly change in your life, I suggest that you book a reading with me. The link to the reading is right below this video. Taurus, Ascendant, Sun or Moon. This conjunction is happening in your 6th house. The 6th house is where you should expect dramatic changes, the unexpected and unpredictable changes that will absolutely turn your life upside down. When Uranus transits the 6th house, it doesn't want you to hold on to the regular 9-to-5 job. You will find yourself in situations where you're either quit or you are actually let go of, because this Uranian energy does not want you to do the predictable, normal type of job. A lot of astrologers who took this to the business level would tell you that it was Uranus that liberated them from a job that they were unhappy in, and they decided to do something totally Uranian like astrology, and turned it into a business. So even if it's not astrology that you're interested in, even if it doesn't have to be astrology, it can be just something that you've probably never done before, a type of job that you've never, it could just be something, or an industry that you've never worked in before. Something totally different is supported by this transit. Your ruling planet Jupiter is not involved in this transit, but however is involved in a very harmonious aspect to the Sun in Leo. So you are going to feel somewhat confident about whatever changes that happen as a result of this conjunction. The sixth house rules, of course, as I said, what we do for work, our working environment, our co-workers, who, like I said, who I always tell you are not your friends. Your co-worker is not your friend, because your co-worker could become an open enemy, could become a known enemy at any given time because of a competition or a promotion, or because of a competition or a promotion at the job. And Mars is bringing a lot of energy to this conjunction. Mars is a fighter, so Mars may essentially bring some arguments in your work area with your co-workers, or perhaps even with your boss. The good thing is, when Mars is transiting the sixth house, it is an excellent time to start a lawsuit, because Mars will fight for you. Mars performs very well in the sixth house. So if you feel you've been dealing with conditions that are unjust in your work environment, this is the best time for you to take action and initiate a lawsuit. You may actually get a win from this decision. The sixth house also rules over our eating habits, our health habits, our exercise habits. And since this is the health house, so if you've been dealing with a chronic illness or some other type of disease, this is the time that some radical new way of treating your ailment could be introduced to you at this time. And this is treatment that will probably work and probably help you heal faster than you imagined from your illness, simply because Uranus supports unconventional methods of healing or treating an illness. So if you follow that energy and you use that energy, Uranus could bring dramatic change and unexpected fast healing to your situation. Sagittarius, if you're confused and feeling a bit challenged because of this transit and you'd like some guidance, I suggest you book a reading with me. The link for the reading is right below this video. This transit is certainly going to bring some major changes in your life. Capricorn, Ascendant, Sun or Moon. This conjunction is happening in your fifth house. The fifth house is a happy house. So this is where you're going to experience some rather dramatic and unexpected changes that will absolutely turn your life upside down, possibly in a positive way. The fifth house is a lucky house. This is the house of our stored past life karma, our good luck karma that we earned in a past life. So you already earned this, you already agreed to this. So if you're one of those Capricorns that have been involved in a relationship, a romantic relationship that has been going absolutely nowhere, Uranus is here to liberate you and bring changes in this area of your chart. So just listen to the energy, trust it, follow it, and it will bring unbelievable, remarkable changes. It could essentially bring you your soulmate, because as I said, the fifth house is a house of good luck, past life karma. This new person might feel very fated, very karmic, something that it might feel like you've known them before, or it might feel like you've met them before. This is exactly what happened to me when I got married. Within just 2 months of meeting my soulmate, I had this conjunction in my 5th house. So if you haven't listened to the beginning of this video, I suggest that you go back and listen to everything, because I do talk about my personal experience. If you're one of those Capricorns that have been trying to get pregnant and you've met with challenges and you're thinking, oh my God, I would never get pregnant, I'll never have my baby. Well, Uranus does support unconventional ways of getting pregnant. So if you are those people who if you're one of those people who has access to IVF, I suggest that you actually go for it. I suggest that you go for it around the time of this conjunction. This is a very supported, advanced technique, and is going to give you the desired result. And then for some of you, it may just happen unexpectedly, because Uranus does, after all, rule over unexpected occurrences, unpredictable occurrences. So if you thought you were too old to get pregnant, you thought that it was impossible for you to get pregnant, doctors have told you it will never happen, it could just magically happen for you at this time. So if you're not trying to have a baby, I suggest that you use double protection, double concentrate. I suggest that you use real protection at this time, some type of reliable contraceptive. Since this area also rules over our creative ability and our creativity, children are a result of our creative ability. So some of you may actually experience this conjunction through your children. Something really dramatic and unexpected could happen with your children. And I caution you, because Mars and Uranus conjunction is an accident conjunction in astrology. I suggest that you really watch out for your children and watch out in whatever environments that they're playing in or being entertained, because anything is possible with this conjunction. And actually it also depends how this conjunction is aspecting the other planets in your own natal horoscope, birth chart. For those who are artists, composers, musicians, who have been feeling stuck and nothing has been working out in this area of their chart, nothing has been successful, you felt ignored and undermined, or anything, or just left behind in this area, this is the time for you to go out there. This is the time for you to go out there and present your art or your music. You could actually be an overnight celebrity. Uranus does push those type of actions. Uranus is the action that makes overnight celebrities, and Mars is there lighting up this conjunction. It could very well happen at this conjunction, at the time of this conjunction, because remember, this is probably something that you earned in a past lifetime, and the North Node is here to push you towards that goal, towards that thing that your heart and soul most desires. So this is a very, very positive transit for you, Capricorn, on many levels, simply because Capricorn trines the sign of Taurus. So essentially you're trining this conjunction, and this is a very supportive and harmonious aspect. However, your ruling planet Saturn is squaring this conjunction, so whatever happens or transpires at this time is going to have some level of resistance, maybe even perhaps some bad news, because Saturn is involved in an opposition to Mercury and squaring this aspect in a tight T-square. So it's not going to be all roses and ponies, and it's not going to be all rosy. There are perhaps some situations that you may have to deal with right away. If you need some guidance and you're confused about what is really happening in your chart and you'd like some more information, please click on the link below this video. It is a link to the special that I have, to the special reading for this specific conjunction. Aquarius, ascendant, sun or moon. This conjunction is happening in your 4th house. This is the area you should expect dramatic change and perhaps some unexpected radical changes that will absolutely change your life. The 4th house is an angle house, and when an angle house is activated, it activates all the other angles in your chart. So that means that your opposing angle, the MC, the 10th house, is also activated, and that has to do with your standing in society. So perhaps whatever happens in your 4th house is going to affect your work area or how others see you. The 4th house squares the ascendant, so so that means that you are also going to be changed and perhaps even transformed by whatever happens at the time of this conjunction. Your ascendant opposes your descendant, where you have relationships, committed relationships, marriage, business partnerships, and just business in general, exchange with the other person. So all these angles are going to be activated at this time. The 4th house rules over our home, our family, our ancestors, our deep hidden resentments. So if you've had ongoing issues in your family, issues that have not changed over many years, this is the time that there will be some type of dramatic change and perhaps some radical endings. The North Node in your 4th house is asking you to spend more time and attention with your family, your home area, your things that make you happy on a deep emotional level. It's asking you to let go of some of the time that you spend with your standing in society and your career. So essentially, for some of you, this could bring about an ending in the career area. You may lose your job or your standing in society in some form or way. Your ruling planet Uranus is a big part of this conjunction, so you may actually have some power and some say as to what should happen and what should happen or be let go of at this conjunction. Your other ruling planet Saturn is, however, been involved in a fight. A square aspect is a challenging aspect against your other ruling planet Uranus, and they're both very active at this time. So you are essentially being hit from both angles. It's really going to be somewhat of a confusing time and challenging time for you, at this conjunction. The ruler of your MC, Mars, is also the ruler of your MC, Mars, who's the ruler of the South Node, is also a big part of this conjunction, and this is why I feel that there will be some type of release or letting go in your work area, because Mars has come to the North Node, your future, which is focused on your family and your home environment. Or perhaps some of you will start working from home because the ruler of your MC has been brought home and is active. Unfortunately, Mars is not a very comfortable energy transiting the 4th house. It brings confrontations and arguments with family members or in the home area. But for others, this could transpire as renovations or moving from your home. So if you've been wanting to move for a long time and have been able to, and you have been unable to, when Mars comes and is activated at this conjunction, you will be able to move unexpectedly and rather in a dramatic exiting type of fashion. So a lot could happen at this a lot could change, or a lot could happen and change, a lot could transpire and bring a lot of unpredictable changes at this conjunction in your home area. This is also has to do with your internal happiness, because the IC is the area where we're most comfortable and most vulnerable. Another thing that could happen is if you've had ancestral karma, things that have been going on with your family, your generations, your mother, your grandmother, things that you felt you were tied to because you were born in that family. This is the time there will be some type of cutting, some type of ending in that karma. You will be released and liberated from that karma. So this transit does have its challenges because your ruling planets are involved in a T-square. They're holding the other two angles of the T-square and squaring and opposing a Mercury. So perhaps you will get some rather upsetting news about your family at this time, or perhaps if you've had an aging parent or parents, this is the time that they will naturally transition to the other side. If you're finding this whole transit very challenging and you're confused about what could possibly happen, I am here for you. I will look at your chart. The link to the reading is right below this video. Pisces ascendant, sun or moon. Conjunction is happening in your third house. This is the area where you're going to experience dramatic, unexpected, and perhaps radical changes that will absolutely change your life. This conjunction last happened in your sign at around 16 degrees of Pisces 15 years ago. So your whole life may have changed 15 years ago, and you're seeing some of the conclusions of whatever possibly transpired 15 years ago, whatever was changed, radically changed. And that probably had something to do with how others saw you. This is when you're seeing the conclusion or the elimination or a chapter change of what happened then. So please do leave a comment in the comment section so others can possibly relate, because you've already experienced this transit on a very personal and intimate level. So leave a comment in the comment section below. Going back to how it's going to affect you this time around. This time is happening in the third house, and the third house rules over our immediate environment. So you're one of those people I would caution to be very careful what you're doing while driving or working in your immediate environment, because things are going to be highly active and activated by Mars and Uranus and the North Node at this time. This is a lot of energy to deal with in a house that's already an active house. So please pay attention to your surroundings or your and especially things that go on between your siblings and your neighbors. If you have had an ongoing argument and you have found no way to resolve this, and perhaps you get into a confrontation around the days surrounding this conjunction, it's very likely that it could turn violent because of the energy, the forceful energy coming in from Mars and the unpredictable energy being brought on by Uranus. So you are going to meet your karma and your fate at this time. Be very attentive, pay attention to your surroundings, and be very careful while driving wherever you're going around in your immediate neighborhood. Don't think that it's because, oh, I'm driving just local, I'll be fine, let me drive without a seatbelt, or let me text and drive, I'm very familiar with where I'm going. Please don't do that, not with this conjunction. It could bring out very undesired results that will ultimately change the rest of your life. On a positive note, the third house rules over our skills and learning abilities. So if you're presented with an opportunity to learn something that is really so advanced and so brand new, it's something that you've never even thought you would be able to learn, something maybe in technology, computers, or God knows what they're coming up with now, I suggest that you really follow your instincts and go for it, because something that you learn now that is looking really too advanced is something that we're all probably going to have to change and accept and assimilate to, and perhaps this new technology is something that could eventually make you very wealthy. So if you're trying to learn some new skill, this is the time to definitely go for it, and do not hesitate. Just enroll and go on, and let this take you to your, and let this guide you and take you to your destined future. Or perhaps you have an idea for an invention, something very new, and something that could change mankind or the society that you live in. This is definitely the time for you to go for it and just do it. Or perhaps you're trying to learn a new language. This is an excellent time for you to learn that, because this is something that you could use to advance your career. You could become an interpreter for the UN. So as challenging and as absurd as others may think it is for you to decide to learn perhaps Italian or Arabic, I suggest that you follow your instincts and just go for it. Your ruling planets, Jupiter and Neptune, are not aspecting this conjunction. However, Neptune is involved with a sextile with Venus that is supportive, harmonious energy, because Venus is the ruler of this conjunction. And your other ruling planet, Jupiter, is not involved in this conjunction. However, he is in a very positive, harmonious sextile with the Sun in Leo. There is a trine between these two bodies. So this is some positive and supportive energy that you have in your pocket. If you're still confused and you don't know how this transit is going to affect your, you don't know how this transit is going to affect you according to your own personal birth chart, I suggest you follow the link. I suggest you book a reading with me. The link to the reading is right below this video.